It is Thursday, March 5th, 2020, and you are tuned into DIRTRACKR Daily. I'm Justin Fiedler. A quick update on the analytics section. I'm now up to 105 races in the database. Added the championship Saturday for Knoxville Nationals from 2018 last night. I will continue through the Knoxville National stuff here over the next couple of days. The Knoxville National stuff takes me a little bit longer because the results are formatted differently than the standard World of Outlaws shows are formatted. So it takes me a little bit more time to go through those races, but 2018 Knoxville Nationals is in there, so you can check that out right now, and then I will keep expanding beyond that, so check that out, DIRTRACKR.com/analytics. A couple of news items from yesterday. Keith Kunz Motorsports has added Max McLaughlin to its midget program in 2020 for a limited schedule. Max is running ARCA for Hattori Enterprises, and this deal was set up through the TRD development program. Max is going to run that midget program kind of around those ARCA dates. So when he has some free time and some free open days and things like that, that's when he's going to have an opportunity to go run the midget. He does have a lot of dirt experience. He's obviously been in a big block modified, has done outlaw karts, things like that. So not quite sure what his schedule will look like yet. They will announce that at a later date, but neat to see Max to get an opportunity with a top level program like Keith Kunz. Keith Kunz also announcing that 14-year-old Jonathan Schaefer will run 10 midget races this season. He'll do a mix of Power Eye and USAC regional midget events. They had a few events on the schedule that they had kind of announced, but I don't know that they're had all 10 events on there yet. But you can go check those announcements out. Those are floating around Speed Sport and some of the other places. Also, the USMTS gets back at it tonight, starting at Big O Speedway for the Texas Spring Nationals. Through 3 race nights so far in 2020, Rodney Sanders leads the point standings over Jason Hughes, Tyler Davis, Derek Ramirez, and Hunter Marriott. Sanders has 2 wins so far. Jason Ingalls has the other win on the season. The event runs through Saturday night, so Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday. If you can't be there, all 3 nights can be streamed live on racindirt.tv. I wanted to get to this. This is something, obviously, that I have talked about before if you have followed me on social media for any length of time. It is kind of some of the misconceptions about dirt racing pay-per-view. And obviously, because of my position, at World Racing Group, I have, knowledge and information about this stuff. And I can't share specific details, obviously, but I want to try to clear up some of the issues around this. There was a blog post at InsideDirtRacing.com. Richard Allen, Michael Moats run this website. They do a lot of late model coverage and stuff around the South and Tennessee and things like that. And they had this blog post about how pay-per-view events impact race attendance. And so I certainly appreciate the discussion around this stuff and the curiosity. And obviously, because a lot of these deals are confidential, there's not a lot of hard evidence out there, a lot of hard stats and information out there available. So there's always going to be a ton of speculation about what these deals look like. But one of the lines in this blog post that kind of bothered me was there was a line about how the tracks don't get any money from this except Eldora, which is completely not true. All deals are different. It depends on the track, depends on the series, depends on the pay-per-view provider, and how these deals get negotiated and, who's running the event and things like that. So don't think that, that every single pay-per-view provider isn't, sharing revenue with the tracks. Some do and some don't. It just depends on those deals. Some of these events are obviously standalone events. Some of these events are sanctioned events. Some of these are track-owned events. And the business deals between a lot of the sanctioning bodies and the racetracks are all very different. And revenue splits and who's selling tickets and all of this stuff. It's all very, very, kind of complicated, and it changes night to night, even across racing series. Like, one night might be a track event where that's a sanction only, and the next night might be, an event where it's a business arrangement between both the series and the track. So these are complicated deals, and there's a lot of moving parts, and to just make a blanket statement like the tracks aren't getting any money is just patently false. So don't think that that's the case, and I wonder sometimes why there's so much concern about these deals. If the track is okay with the deal and the sanctioning body's okay with the deal, then why aren't the fans okay with the deal? It's not it doesn't affect your enjoyment of the racing. It doesn't affect your, the way you consume it. It's just, let's, it's like, let's find less things to be upset about, and especially when we're upset about things that are based on misinformation. So I think it's important to keep in mind through this stuff. And I also think that, this idea that pay-per-view takes away from the gates, first of all, isn't true at all. Even anecdotally, look at large events at Eldora and Knoxville and, DIRTRACKR Nationals at Volusia. I mean, packed out crowds and standing room only and things like that. And all of these events are streamed across big platforms and streamed really well on big platforms, with multiple cameras and pit reporters and all this type of stuff. I mean, you're talking TV level broadcast production here. And so to think that it's taking away from the gates I think is silly. And not only the fact that, anecdotally, but their, World Racing Group, like we've looked at, some of these numbers and some of these things, and it's just not true. And, I understand people being concerned about this and the promoters and stuff wanting to make sure that it's not taking away from the front gate, but it's just not happening. And if you think that, like, oh, of course the big events aren't going to be affected by that. Well, guess what? The small events aren't being affected by it either. Kenny Dobson at Jacksonville is running his weekly racing series program for free on YouTube. For free. He's not even making any money off of the broadcast. He is putting his live weekly shows, whatever, each week, he's doing a broadcast on YouTube for free that literally anyone can tune in and watch. So not only is he not worried about it taking away from his front gate, he's not even charging for the broadcasts. So, and he's actually said his attendance is up, since he started doing this. So there are too many examples of this going well. And obviously if this was a situation where it was taking away from attendance and was causing problems for the racetrack, you know what? It wouldn't happen anymore. It would go away. The tracks would be against it and it would go away. But you know what you're seeing? You're seeing the opposite. You're seeing more and more streaming available. So if that in itself isn't evidence that this is just not the case, then I'm not sure where else to point you, because the answer to these questions is right in front of your face. There's more streaming now than there ever has been, and there's going to continue to be a lot of streaming because it's just the right thing to do. It's the right thing to be able to expose more fans to this. And if somebody can't come to the show, you know what? They're going to buy it on pay-per-view because they're going to want to watch. Dirt racing is exciting and it's fun and it's accessible, and to be able to have the opportunity to expose more people to this is the right thing to do. And going forward, you're going to see more of it, and you're going to see streaming services having more series available, having more track races available. There's going to be just more content, which is just good for everyone involved, to be able to show more of this stuff. And I think because of that, you're going to grow the fan base. And one of the other lines in this blog post was about how, streaming services, the people that subscribe to those are already dirt racing fans. Like, and I think that's true to a point, but, if you are somebody who is, curious about this, and, we've seen some of this stuff with, some of the anecdotal stuff around iRacing. Somebody who's not a dirt racing fan jumps into iRacing and then, says, oh, okay, like I'm going to try a sprint car late model. It's like, oh, this is pretty cool. Let me go check this out. Maybe they're not going to go down to their local track, but, you can come over to a streaming service and buy a night or buy a short pass and see what's available. And then, if that piques your interest, then okay, like, it's all of these kind of building blocks to be able to draw people in. So let's work on making sure that we're not putting out misinformation. And if people have questions, like, let's reach out and ask questions of the people who actually know what's going on in these cases, so that we don't have misinformation. And then we don't have social media threads and forum threads about, these posts and the information in them, and that the information in them is fact, when in reality, it's probably not the case. Something else kind of along these lines is don't expect a return to dirt racing to live television. In case you haven't noticed, live television is kind of not just live television, but like things like cable television and the broadcast networks and things like this, with the cord cutting that's going on. These rights deals are going to continue to morph and to change, and less and less people are paying for these cable services and things like that. So there's going to be less money available for some of these rights deals anyway. But live sports are incredibly expensive to produce, and even in the cases where you have like tape delayed events on some of these sports networks, that stuff is not cheap to produce, and it's no guarantee that people are going to tune in and watch. And you can point to MAV TV and say, oh, MAV TV does live Lucas races, does live ASCS races, and that's true. But Lucas Oil owns MAV TV, so obviously it makes sense for them to be able to do that. Like, they're pushing some of the series that they own or involved in, and they can do that because they own the TV network. But you're not going to see World of Outlaws sprint cars on ESPN. You're not going to see them on CBS, network broadcast, things like that. It's too costly, and it just doesn't make sense for the series to go, chase that stuff down. And to be able to afford that, you have to have a lot of big money sponsors to back that stuff, and to have big money sponsors, then you have to have really high ratings, and that's just not going to happen. It's been tried before, and it's a money losing proposition. So, but something that's not a money losing proposition is pay-per-view for these tracks. You can produce a online stream much cheaper than you can produce a TV broadcast. You don't need some of the equipment, you don't need some of the people, and the way those broadcasts and stuff are put together. You just don't need a lot of that stuff. It's just much cheaper to be able to produce the pay-per-view stream. So this is a way that the series and the tracks can afford to do this, can afford to show the races live. So this is going to continue to be the path. And obviously you're going to see, this continue to morph and change. The online streaming stuff hasn't really been around all that long, and now you're seeing new players, Flow Racing, for example, jumping in. So this is going to kind of be a moving target here going forward. And it'll be interesting to see kind of how it all plays out. But just wanted to cover off on some of that stuff and hopefully clear up some misconceptions. And if you have questions about some of this stuff, or you're curious about how how some of these deals work, reach out and ask people. There are plenty of people available, on social media and through email and things like that you can actually ask questions of. And you're not going to send you a contract. They're not going to send you, the exact dollar amounts and things like that. But they can kind of point you in a good direction and give you some ideas about how these deals work and what makes sense and what doesn't. So anyways, speaking of pay-per-view, the only thing on the pay-per-view schedule tonight is that USMTS show at Big O Speedway on racindirt.tv. Much more will be on the pay-per-view schedule through the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will get you updated on all of that tomorrow. We will also take a look at the weekend schedule tomorrow and some of the other racing action going on, including things like the ASCS back in action in California. Thanks for tuning in today. You can find DIRTRACKR Daily on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or where you get podcasts. Please subscribe, leave me a review, and tell your friends. You can watch the show also on YouTube and Facebook. You can also email the show at info@dirtracker.com. If you have questions, suggestions, whatever, I'm available there. You can follow along with DIRTRACKR at facebook.com/DIRTRACKR and twitter.com/DIRTRACKR. You can also visit the website at dirtracker.com. News, analytics, point standings, pay-per-view schedule, podcasts, videos, the track section. If you haven't checked out the track section, that'll be I think a good tool for fans and teams this year. I've got there's 150 or plus tracks on there right now. There's nearby hotels, restaurants, stores, car washes, all kinds of stuff on there. Plus weather and a lot of good track information, so check that stuff out. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can do that at Justin_Fiedler. You can also sign up at DIRTRACKR.com for the weekly newsletter. Thanks for tuning in. I will see everybody tomorrow on DIRTRACKR Daily.